Hey everyone, hope you're all doing great. Welcome to the first of 8 online events, which are in-depth panel discussion about the CVVC Global Report sections. I'm NICOLAI REINBORD, the Ecosystem and Incubation Manager of CVVC and CV Labs. Now, before we start with the panel, I would like to talk or to introduce CVVC and the report. So CVVC is an early-stage venture capital investor with a focus on startups which build on blockchain technology. Based in the heart of Crypto Valley, the company invests in all stages of crypto and blockchain development, from incubation to growth stage. In addition, the venture capital investment has its own incubation and ecosystem business. It's called CV Labs. Now, this CV Labs consists of co-working spaces, advisory, and events. In the past, we did our CVVC Top 50 report, which is a periodical report on market valuation development from the Crypto Valley. The report highlights the diverse ecosystem in blockchain and cryptocurrency, consisting of startups, corporates, and government. Now, we decided to do a global one, called the CVVC Global Report. This is created by us in collaboration with PwC and distributed by Cointelegraph. It showcased top global blockchain organizations across the various sectors: blockchain and art, brokers and crypto banks, crypto exchanges, custody providers, market makers, platforms and protocols, token issuance companies, and venture capitalists in blockchain. The global report is rather a soft one, so it's kind of a landscape of all these sectors. However, we hold in-depth panel discussion like this one today to go deeper into the topic. The report will come out next Monday, and every 2 weeks we will hold now all these in-depth panel discussion. This is all from my side. I wish you the best, the pleasure of watching the panel discussion, and handing over to KRISTINA, who will be moderating the panel.
Hi everyone, I'm KRISTINA LUCREZIA, Managing Editor at Cointelegraph, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with my wonderful co-panelists and to talk about blockchain in art and art in blockchain. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask you to present yourself, your project, and also to tell us a bit, where did you come from the art side or from the blockchain digital side? KRISTINA, let's start with you, ladies first.
Well, hi everyone. I'm excited to be on the panel, of course, and let's start where I'm actually coming from. I come pretty much from the art side. Within my career, I've been doing all possible jobs in the art world, and for the last 10 years, I've been running art fairs. And so my takeaway was that more and more art is produced digitally and file-based, and artists are coming to galleries, artists are coming and want to show it. And it was so hard for galleries to do it, to manage it, to show it, and to actually sell it. So about 2 years ago, I met my co-founder in San Francisco, and he introduced me to the Blockchain Society. And this is when I got in touch with the functions of blockchain. I thought, this is amazing. We can use that for the established art world. And so this is where my journey began. And what I'm building together with my team is a integrated marketplace for digital art, for file-based work that for my MVP, it's an offer to galleries in the first place, then to artists, and for the full ecosystem, including auction houses and institutions, is an integrated marketplace so that you can have a marketplace on your website. So you have in your gallery roster artists that produce digital work, not solely digital, but photography, video, sound, animation. So they can also start selling that artwork on their own secure web pages. And we provide basically the payment and management solution and the management interface for them. So can the collector buy it on their site, or institutions buy it, look at it in a secure way. And we do it on our own blockchain that we are developing. And so I'm coming from the art side, and I believe in blockchain as a solution for also the established art world.
Thank you very much, Kristina. Wonderful. Nanne, what about you?
Well, I'm actually joining Kristina in coming actually from the art world, very much so. I'm an art historian, started more at a curatorial level. Love art, always been intrigued by art, and I became a specialist in French Impressionism, which when I was studying in Amsterdam was the thing you were not supposed to like because it was called the easy art. So when I was studying in Amsterdam, I was writing theses that nobody understood about Baudrillard and philosophers, but I just followed my heart and I became a specialist in French Impressionism. And I ended up in New York in '96 from Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, I had more curatorial jobs, and here I became an art dealer and started to advise people, especially at the level of provenance, which is interesting because the company that I founded, provenance became a very, very interesting part, or an important part of it. So provenance research was part of my job as an art historian and as an art dealer. And then I joined the Wildenstein Gallery, which is a big gallery with a huge inventory of French Impressionists, and I was very lucky to be catering at the highest level of the art market, which was very fascinating and exciting. And after Wildenstein, I joined Sotheby's, became vice chairman there and worldwide head of private sales. And all I've learned in the art market always was that if you operate at the highest echelon of the market, everything is based on trust. It's basically trusting NANNE DEKKING, because most of the information about an artwork lives in my head and is based on things that I have seen. And to keep it short, what we're doing with ARTORY, with the company that I founded a few years ago, was to make sure that if there is validated, credible information about an artwork, it can actually live with that artwork, either in a public or a permission-based access fields. And we use blockchain technology for that. So the beauty about blockchain is, although I'm not a tech guy, I've learned this huge strength of blockchain is that it makes information unalterable because you can't change it, and it gives it a timestamp. Well, apart from maybe containers that you want to follow from harbor to harbor, I cannot imagine a better use case for blockchain than art, where it's all about trying to capture information that is actually important for the artwork. And that's when you talk about the traditional art market, when you talk about a field of the art market that I really, really start to admire, it's digital art. Then blockchain gives you even more opportunities to make sure that you can create a special hash of the digital artwork that can be seen by many people, but you can actually prove that you own one of the original digital artworks. So maybe for the introduction, we keep it to this.
Wonderful, Nanne. I'm sure that Monsieur Monet and Manet would be really happy to hear that. that people who are passionate about their art.
I think Monet especially would have loved blockchain. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, that's another topic. Okay, let's move to Dina. Where are you? What is your project, and where are you coming from? So we have already two art people on the panel.
Yes, so I'm Dino Levkovic, director at 4Art Technologies. We're headquarters here in Zug, in the heart of the Crypto Valley. I'm actually one of the few who does not hail originally from the art world. I used to be one of those exciting entrepreneur and business consultant people before I had the luck to start on my adventure on exploring the art world and art business. And it really is an adventure because it's a very interesting, very special world, which houses many interesting people, many interesting individuals, certainly. And I'm here to represent 4Art Technologies. I have been with the company since the very beginning, racing towards 3 years now. And we are developing digital art market tools in the form of the 4Art app. We launched our product at the beginning of this year, and we combine a number of different kinds of tools to serve all stakeholders within the art world. Our claim to fame, really, what really got us going is a unique patented technology that allows any user to utilize their smartphone, currently iPhones and very, very soon Android phones as well, to create a digital fingerprint of an art object, making it uniquely identifiable, and based on that foundation, making sure that you can always connect the physical art object to its digital twin, to the digital information. We are building a large set of digital tools, be it digital automatic condition reporting, automatic track and trace services for all artwork movements, be it integrated virtual galleries, working on behalf models, and so forth, to create really an integrated ecosystem to make daily life for everyone in the art world, starting from the artists, but a broker, a gallerist, museums, logistics, and so forth, just easier, just faster, because I don't have decades of experience in the art world, but it doesn't take decades to realize that there's quite a room for improvement, quite a way for the art world to make. There's lots of space to digitize, but there's lots of opportunity to be had. And it's really exciting. I have to say, I've enjoyed my time, and I'm looking forward to a lot more of it.
Fascinating. Well, I'm really interested to know what is the finger of an art object to make a fingerprint. Let's move to Francesco. Italy is a country with maybe one of the largest number of cultural objects. So that's definitely a very interesting topic to discuss.
Actually, on my side, I joined in not coming with an art background to the scene. My background is in finance, venture capital, and asset management. And just a few years ago, with the other co-founder of R-Square, Fabrizio, that is a serial entrepreneur, we decided to bring our fintech experience to the art world. What we're doing with R-Square is effectively creating an exchange for the art by using the blockchain and the fractional ownership. We just want to create replicate what's already happening in the finance world with normal other asset classes like stocks or commodities. On Square, users can buy a portion of the total value of the artwork, exactly like on the exchange, where you can buy with 100 euros shares of Google, Amazon, or Tesla. With Square, starting from €1, you can buy shares of fine art and collectibles. We started this project because we believe that technology is the way to start democratization in every industry, and it can be more democratic that allowing everyone to participate to the art world, lowering the entry-level barrier by lowering the price for acquiring an artwork.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for the introduction. So we have 50% of people from art, 50% from people from business. And my question to you is, the next question is, when you first started converging technology, business, and art. Technology, I mean blockchain. How would you evaluate the state of the market at that moment? And coming from now, from this moment, how would you comment how much has already the market has changed and grown during these months for Dino, or I imagine more than 1 year for some of you. So KRISTINA, could we start with you? When did
yes,
you
of course.
start experimenting with blockchain?
Well, I started digging into 2 years ago, and I actually found it with my co-founder, who comes from the technology space, last year. And I can just tell about my journey, that when I started to actually pitch to galleries, sort of coming from far, it's like, what do you think about that? Would you use a service like that? Would you see yourself in that and your clients? And this was about 1.5 years ago. It seemed to them like the far future, yeah. And I can say, with the pandemic and about in the course of the last year, things speeded up significantly. So for me, we did, so we are currently testing with galleries. And for me, I see that there's a need. So I have the other way around, that actually market participants are now coming to us and say, hey, when are you ready? Because it's the pandemic, people are bracing themselves for another year, at least in that state. And it's clear that people got adapted to a digital participation in the art world, because the screen is now our best friend. And we, at least in the US, we do not have in-person meetings, and it seems still quite a way to go till it actually will happen. So business and touch points with art happen purely through screens. So business is ready to catch up and actually use new models. And so they are looking into blockchain, because also during the pandemic, reports have been coming back also to me that there's a lot of requests for digital art, and there's a lot of interest for that. So I see that there's an uptake, and other colleagues like Super Rare have also seen an increased sales volumes on their marketplaces, which is different than what I'm doing. So since it's a direct to end consumer, but it's basically a positive trajectory for everything. And all of the participants now in this panel come from sort of a different perspective on things, and I see a positive uptake. So at least I can report I have a lot of interest from the corporate side to actually use it and finally use it.
That's fascinating. Definitely, that was not a very good beginning of the year, development of the year, but for us, people who are working in the digital industry, it has opened so many new opportunities. And those who maybe were not ready for digitalization, well, had to start experimenting with it. Nanne, do you think in general that the art market is more conservative or more progressive?
It's a good question, because at ARTORY, we're actually dealing with two extreme sides of the art market. What we tried to do when we started some 3 years ago is to explain to people what blockchain technology was, by reaching out to market players like Sotheby's and Christie's and the big auction houses. And again, a little bit the kind of art market that I'm coming from. And the only reason why we did it was that we wanted to explain to people what the use case was. We knew that Christie's and Sotheby's would not fully endorse blockchain technology and everything that we've built, because especially in the beginning, what we try to explain to people is when there's public knowledge about your artwork, although people don't know and cannot know who you are, it actually helps your artwork. But that's sort of counterintuitive for the big auction houses and the big art dealerships in the world, because they try to keep the cards close to their chest. Having said that, we made a lot of publicity by collaborating with the largest auction houses. But interestingly enough, the request from people to register artworks and to have public exposure of the artworks on our registry usually came from the owners. Like the Epsworth sale, which was in a way an historical moment, because it was the first time that a really important sale and that artworks like Edward Hopper's and you name it were actually secured in blockchain technology and were from that moment on in perpetuity visible as one collection that started from the Epsworth sale before it became dispersed. The wish came from the Epsworth family. They wanted to use ARTORY because they thought it would give more credibility to artworks that they were selling. But if you make a step to what KRISTINA just said, so we have this public registry, we have a huge database with public information. But what we noticed is when the pandemic started, and especially Northern Italy, of course, but also New York, was extremely hit hard in the beginning of the pandemic. So intuitively, we knew if you really want to be relevant, you have to change everything. But we were helped, in a way, what KRISTINA said as well. What we noticed was logistic tracking became extremely important, because artworks are still traveling more these days than the art lovers. There are still there's still a market. Let's not fool each other, right? I mean, let's not say everything is amazing. Sotheby's and Christie's in the first quarter had 80% less sales. So it doesn't mean that the art market was not affected by it. And that affects our business as well, of course. But what we noticed was there was a huge uptake from dealerships, galleries, and the auction houses to use our services for logistic tracking. Basically, the way blockchain is used in the container industry. A container arrives in a harbor, who signs off, who cryptographically signs off on the information, and you can start to keep tracking the relevant and important and credible information about an artwork when it travels. So that helped us a lot. And the other thing that helped us is I've always been a believer in fractionalized ownership of art, and I've always been a believer in tokenization, what we're going to discuss later. What helps us is when you are one of the owners of a fraction of an artwork, through the registry that we've built on a permission basis, you can give every token holder of an artwork all the prime information that you need to know about that artwork when you invest in it. That's something that I would love to discuss maybe later with Francesco, is that became really important. So although we have not created our own tokenization platform or sales platform at that level, we got an outreach from quite a few of those platforms that they felt it would give credibility of the artwork that's being tokenized or sold in a new way. So I see big developments. I see the traditional marketplace actually basically staying the way they are. Let's face it, it was wonderful to see the big auctions at Christie's and Sotheby's. They were not digital revolutions. It was basically a hybrid of a digital sale and just a traditional sale. But I do believe there are opportunities, and as a company, we've suffered like everybody else. It's terrible that we cannot see each other anymore, that all the events where we can actually exchange ideas are not there anymore. I personally suffer from that. I find it horrible. But I do believe that companies like ours have a future, because the marketplace will change, and there are plenty of opportunities there.
For sure, Dina. So you've joined the art space in the beginning of this year, and then the pandemics came. That I imagine wasn't something expected. So how did it impact the strategy of your business model? And did it give you, like, which challenges did it give, and also which opportunities?
Well, I mean, the COVID pandemic has been, of course, quite severe in its impact, certainly. One of the core tasks that I have at FOR Technologies is the organization of our sales and marketing efforts, and you can imagine that those have been impacted, and we've had to do essentially a 180-degree turnaround, having to adjust. I mean, one of the cores in the art world were art exhibitions, were art events. Round about 50% of the art business was done at these events. You know, people got together, they met, they created connections. The art world is strongly based on trust still. So, you know, you build those personal connections, you increase your circles, you meet new experts and new connections, and all that, of course, fell away. So how do you promote a new product? How do you meet people? How do you create partnerships? I mean, I've met NANNE at Art Basel last year. So, you know, that's where these things happen, and none of that existed anymore from basically one day to the next. And we've had to adjust very quickly, of course. But it's been quite incredible, actually, how the art world, after initial shock, as we've all had, I think, in all industries, having to first realize what has happened, having to realize what has to be done to get everyone safe, to have everyone be healthy, and then to, you know, how to create new systems, new structures in this world, which, as we can see now, will be with us for a little longer at least. Of course, we've seen in this short-term chaos, yes, lots of effort has to be done. I mean, I've slept very little in the month of March, April, and May, certainly. But we see that in the long term, this push of digitization, which we've seen, you know, entire exhibitions being moved online, art sales being moved online. You read articles every single day of Christie's, of Sotheby's, big auction houses, big galleries, and so forth, finding clients, you know, finding success online, despite what they feared, despite of what was expected, or even far beyond expectations. So we see that in the future, services like ours, like Francesco offers, like NANNE offers, like we offer, are not just side events, not just nice little tools, nice little toys that you can maybe choose to utilize, but those are going to be at the very center of the future of the art business, on how to connect clients globally, on how to meet future demand. I mean, there's always, of course, a change, but there is a generational shift coming when it comes to the art world, when it comes to, you know, those selling art, those producing art, but also those collecting and buying art. And these new individuals, these new collectors especially, they have very, very different demands. They grew up and are adjusted to a very different world, which, you know, which we all know, with cell phones, with digital information, emails, and so forth. And the art world wasn't there at all, or in a very limited capacity. So we see this push of digitization very favorably. Of course, we are lucky to be at the very spearhead of leading the charge of digitization, of connecting, and of utilizing all these tools to create new opportunities. It's been stressful, but yeah, I think in the end, it's going to move us in the right direction and provide lots of benefit to lots of people. It's going to help to democratize the art world, help to give more information, more detail, and you know, which is something at our heart, to provide more security and more certainty, to supplement the trust, and to, you know, sort of go borderless, go 24 hours. Those limitations are being removed, and yeah, that's very exciting to see.
Thank you for your optimism, Dina. Francesco, so I would like to ask you, how did your interactions change during the last months with the institutions and individuals who own the art objects, and also those, how you call them, traders who search for shares of art assets? How did it change? How the dynamics of the financial market for art changed during the last months?
Well, on our side, I join what KRISTINA was saying. It was all of a sudden, it was easier to explain the product. People that were asking a lot of questions were just in a blink of an eye open to innovation, which was quite interesting. In my opinion, the art market is not very progressive. It's very difficult to make them embrace change, even though when change brings mostly benefit. If you look at tokenization is just bringing more money, because you're opening new liquidity to the art market, bringing in new clients, not only the new to the field young buyers, the millennials, but also the crypto holders. You bring in the finance people that look at art as an asset class, and they don't look only at the emotional value, but only at the speculation that they can do. So with technology, you are bringing a big pro, which is more money. Talking with institution was much faster. We had a big increase in terms of people interested in experimenting in tokenizing asset. In terms of offering, we work mostly with galleries and collectors. At the end of the day, what we're offering is a tool to monetize without any cost what they have, without any marketing cost, without having to do the normal cost of sale. So they liked it, and it was just faster, the conversation. On the trader side, the users, what we call the small investors, to be quite honest with people at home, simply we had to talk with more people, because we went from around 8,000 visits on the website to 455,000 at one point. So it was like a boom. And I think it was the same though. People that were more reluctant to accept and understand, they were just like giving it a try. And that's the product because they want to buy the fractional share of Andy Warhol, but it's because they want to try something new. I think the world is all in this. After we had this time to reflect, and we know that we gotta do something different, and people are very much more willing to experiment new things, which I love. I mean, coming from technology is amazing.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about one of the aspects of blockchain application in art, that is tokenization. Nanne already mentioned that. So which opportunities, but also which challenges does tokenizing art give the market? And well, is there an opportunity that everything in art can be tokenized anytime soon? Well, maybe let's start with Dina, who has this, well, because he talked more about the tools. So I wanted to know from the person who is coming not from the art, how do you see the tokenization of art objects?
Well, I remember one of the first conferences that I participated in when I joined 4Technologies was the Art and Finance Conference held by Deloitte, which was 2 years ago now. And the tokenization was already, of course, one of the aspects that we talked about there is something that the art side, but the financial side as well, are very interested in. And the interest certainly has continued to grow. We've had a cooperation under the name of ArtCells. We were one of 3 cooperation partners. And the ArtCells collection and exhibition was, for example, created by the House of Fine Art in London, includes blue chip artists such as Kaws, Banksy, Koons, and so forth. And that project was supremely successful, I have to say. I mean, the shares, a third of that collection was tokenized and fractionalized and sold to investors, and those fractionalized ownership participants, I think everything sold out within 24 hours. The value has been increasing very well. The latest report came out after the first half year, and the value increase was 24% above expectations. And we have many projects coming along. I've been lucky and happy to talk to Francesco as well about possible cooperation, because tokenization is something that people are very interested in. From the art side as well, because art is a not quite easily movable, not very liquid asset, of course, but you have many people who are collecting art who would like to share it, and there's many many individuals, a large amount of interest from art collectors to be able to participate. I mean, how often can you buy a Banksy or a Kaws? But for a very small sum, for the ArtCells project, if I remember correct, it was $100. To be able to buy a part of it, you can participate in these kinds of models and in these kinds of solutions, which is wonderful for everyone. And I think that's just at the very beginning. There's a long road ahead, and I think a lot of different and cool things coming up. The challenge, of course, something that we've been looking at, we've been involved at, is what do you do with that tokenized ownership? I mean, it used to be very simple. You buy a piece of art, you hang it on a wall, or you place it in some bunker in Liechtenstein and never see it again. But most people, they place it on a wall, they enjoy it, and that's really it. And what do you do if you have a tokenized piece of an art asset, of an art piece or a collection that is sitting somewhere? You know, what do you provide to these collectors, to these participants? That's one of these things, for example, that we're including, is that, you know, all token holders within our app, within the Forward app, they get exclusive access to the digital collection within virtual reality. They can enjoy it themselves. They can share it with others. They get automatic updates of, you know, the value that is relevant to the collection. So you can really start connecting with them. You can start trading your fractionalized, your part ownership. But that's, you know, at the beginning, we're just trying to think of ways just to test ideas. What are people interested in, and what can you do beyond just simple artwork ownership? So that's been incredible. But I have to say, again, tokenization of art assets, fractionalization is important when it comes to the democratization of art collection, of art ownership, how to use art, how to experience art, and just make it more available, and to see exactly what people want, what they like, and what they enjoy.
KRISTINA, do you think that there are types of art objects that are easier to tokenize and those who are more difficult to tokenize?
I would guess so. So my heart lies at the digital, right? So this is where I was coming from. That I see digital art that is not easier. It's there to be tokenized. That can be traced. It's essentially digital and can be moved around, as it was said. And this is exactly that where I saw the development going. And this is what I offer. And this is where I'm coming from, to actually organize the rights management and then the shop integration, as in the website or in the marketplace. And to come back to your initial question, do you see everything being tokenized? Well, actually, yes. So this is basically my forecast for at least the next 5 to 7 years that I see. And the market is pretty much talking about, let's say, crypto artists, and there's been a lot of conversation within the crypto art community. And let's say the more traditional arts that was also NANNE referring to. And I think also many of your services actually target to. And I see that the traditional art world will also understand and come to understand the advantages of the blockchain and of tokenization. So that means also artists that are now printing their photography or thinking in white space installations in museums, as in several channel installations, will think, well, actually, I can also sell it with my dealer or myself, tokenize that and move it. And I think that's the beauty of it. So people that haven't been essentially on the web to selling their digital work, because they've been always printing that, I see that going into that direction. Also estates, for example, estates that do handle rights for artists that have work that is digital, either film, sound, whatever. I see that also that they will be experiencing and finding out that it's actually a perfect use case also for them to distribute, right? It's not only ownership and sell in that way, but it's also distribution, that you from, as we all are in our living rooms or in the shared office spaces, that you can actually now deliver to your final client sitting somewhere else, and you don't have to ship anything. So I'll definitely see that trend, and I feel that my clients on my end feel the need to offer that.
Francesco, would you agree with the fact that we are going towards tokenization of everything? And if yes, what are the prerequisites for the speedy adoption of the technology in this regard?
Oh, look, with me, if it was up to me, I'll tokenize anything, whatever. I'm a big fan of tokenization. In fact, our Square is, we tokenize fine art and collectibles as well. So whatever goes to an auction house. So yes, definitely, the more tokenization, the better, because it links to the mood, to the vision of tokenization, which is coming from the technology, if you want to, because blockchain is doing what? Is creating this democratization, virtual assets. So it's definitely fascinating. What do we need in order to have more adoption? This is it's all about the tool to become more mainstream. So when you're gonna have the 15th of September, Apple releasing iPhone 12, if they say we have a wallet already installed, it's gonna just be a big bang for us, for all the operators, because we're gonna see everyone looking into this technology. So it's just a matter of time. It is something quite, when it comes to, we're talking about investment in art. So it's quite tricky, because you must still respect the main regulations, meaning you can't propose an investment to whoever without making sure that everything is correct. So forgery is a problem, as an example, and let's call them fake news or fake information. This is why all my peers that are working in the validation process in relying on the blockchain for the provenance, this is very important, because if you buy on a token on a fractional share on R-Square now, we had done our job internally as a due diligence, and what Dino and Nanne were saying about the importance of making sure that all the information are correct and verified and immutable and transparent, verifiable on the blockchain. This is very important in order to have adoption, that people feel comfortable that it's not a scam.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Because what I find fascinating is I've been following, of course, the last couple of years what's happening on the fractionalized ownership side. I am a traditional art dealer, and I still believe if you can't sell an artwork the traditional way, don't even start to tokenize anything, because you'll be cheating on your investors. If I see now on the traditional art market side, on the supply side, that quite a few art dealers are very much interested in now starting to carve out 20% of the ownership of an artwork. Well, first of all, you tokenize the entire artwork and they can sell 20% of the artwork. And we have secured a group of artworks that have never been tokenized before, which I think is very uplifting and very inspirational for the kind of market that we're talking about. And then you have to add, indeed, all these elements that should have been in place already from the get-go is who signs off on the information. With ARTORY on purpose, we have the whole Winston Art Group appraisal services integrated in our system in a completely encrypted way. We cannot read what's happening there, but people sign off on the information. And whether it's Dino's company that you integrate in our systems, which is definitely something I would love to do, is then people can really be secure in what they're buying. And if you then give them access to all the prime information on a permission base, it's almost like working with a Bloomberg terminal. You can see all the information about your artwork. And then I think Dino sort of referred to it. You can start to add bells and whistles, right? Like I can always see my artwork on my phone if I want to, because there's always a camera on it. And you can do all kinds of things to make it more appealing, that you feel that you actually are a co-owner of an artwork. So I think we're entering a new stage there. I think you enter a new stage if the traditional market is starting to look at it as an opportunity rather than a threat, which I feel with everything we're doing. We've always been seen as a threat, and we're not. We're trying to make that market more efficient. I remember that Kadaf had an art fair here downtown in New York, the first digital art fair. At the same time, and in those days I was still the chairman of TEFAF, the most traditional art fair took place at the Armory in the Upper East Side, in Park Avenue. Almost every visitor who I met at Kadaf, I could bring to TEFAF, and they loved it. And I'm sure some of these people, like the Winklevoss brothers were there, for the first time they went to another kind of art fair. I'm sure these people are going to buy that kind of art as well. It will grow the market. Whereas nobody from TEFAF I could convince to come downtown with me to actually look at the digital art. It's fascinating. But things are shifting, and we all hate the situation we're in. But I think the COVID situation is making people more aware of that everything will have to change if you want to keep things the same. We have to change, really.
For sure, I would also like to invite our wonderful viewers to send their questions to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We're looking forward to it. Nanne, I would just like to reiterate my question to KRISTINA. Do you think that there are really differences in tokenization of different types of art, but also different epochs, ages of art? So is it more difficult to tokenize a Monet object of art than no?
Exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It represents a certain value. It's actually more interesting to tokenize a Monet because that's a completely illiquid part of your asset class, right? You have 20, 30, 40, and someone already paid $120 million for a Monet sitting out there. And there's something you can do. You can still be the owner, or you can have all the rights of the owner. You can be the custodian. And a part of it is actually owned by investors. And why not? It's possible.
That's actually
Interesting.
If I may,
Sorry, Francesco.
this is actually how it works on our square. You see, from the beginning, the art owner, say a gallery, will define with us what we call a modular smart contract. So if you want to get technical, it's the rules of the smart contract that define the multiple ownership. All right, so we define that who is deciding if there is a sell in the physical world to accept it, yes or no. We could do a pool. What we have now live is the art seller is defining. So if the gallery receive a request to buy the whole artwork, they will buy back the tokens, and the new shareholders will have just their profit. So in case you want to scale it, you don't have any limits in terms of rules of governance. You can put exactly like in finance. I hate to go back all the time to that, but you define the rights attached to the shares. So you have the right to come and see it. You can have the right to have it hang it on your wall on Christmas Eve if you have more than X amount of shares. You have the right for dividends in case the artwork is rented. Everything is possible because of technology. Because now, with a smart contract, you can get a notification on your phone saying, here's $200 because the artwork has been rented to an exhibition. Hey, you must vote now. We have an offer to sell the artwork. Do you want to accept it, yes or no? Or, hey, the offer has been accepted. Here's your profit.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question to you? So, because I mean,
it's a difficult question. Is a depends.
So I'm in the digital sphere, and I believe 100% in fractional ownership. But my question is always, and this is basically the logistics of it and the insurance. Have you seen, because if you see an appraisal of value of an artwork, and this has been always like a headache also when I was dealing in the physical artwork, the shipping and the insurance of highly valued artworks, how do you deal with that? Or is that neglectable in the overall? Because this is, I think, it's a tough task to deal on a scale, on a huge scale, is to actually the physical dealing with that.
The way we approach this situation is the way we approach the whole platform, by customization. So when you sell, you say in advance the artwork is insured, the artwork is here, the artwork is gonna move. And when you buy, you know in advance what you're buying. What we have now are artworks that are owned by galleries. They're gonna stay in the gallery, and the gallery is in charge of selling it, maintaining it, and managing it, all right? If another artwork that is owned by a collector, you know in advance that it stays with the collector. So as a user, when you go online, you see what you're dealing with. Say you want something more expensive, you'll buy it with insurance, you'll buy that is in a vault, you'll buy that you'll never see it. Say you want something that you want to enjoy, you'll buy it that is in a gallery, you'll just put a filter. I want to buy only from galleries, because you can go and see it. You know, so everything is customizable. When it comes, so I agree with you. It all comes to the decision of the user and how the people and the clients. You know, if you are selling an artwork and you have co-owners and you must ship it, you want these people to pay. So they must know in advance that they will have some cost. You know, when you buy a boat, you know that you're gonna have cost in keeping it at the port. When it comes to digital art, it's actually better, as you were saying, because you can have the token. You want to rent it, you have it, you have your TV, you put the password in the token, and you can have access for 3 hours. And what is very amazing for digital artists is that they can monetize this, because they can receive the money quickly. It's basically the same revolution that we had with music with the iPod, because you can give them rights. Whoever has the tokens and wants to access the digital artwork, that this is the only way to know that it's the real one. They must insert a password, a key to access the token, and here we go. The artist is receiving the money in their wallet. So I only see pros, to be honest.
Well, interesting enough, you're coming from a heavily regulated industry, the finance industry. And what, apart from the technology we just discussed, what I like about tokenization is it now becomes a financial asset. So it's a pain in the butt, so to say, but you have to add all the compliance that is already regular when you buy any financial product. So it's actually an artwork that you can trust more because there is so much more information available in these smart contracts, which is basically replicating all the kind of contracted agreements that you have when you invest in a company. And you have to know who transported the artwork and the whereabouts of the artwork, and the gallery has to sign off. This will not move my premises. It actually adds a whole layer of transparency that we've not seen before.
And this is where technology comes in, because thanks to technology, it's super easy to do
Make
that.
it visible, yeah.
Who can it see?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of those things that we've been very strong in, and one of those focuses of our technology is that transparent track and trace to, in a decentralized way with these, magic tools that we all carry around. You can automatically, with no lag, instantly, with very little effort, track every single movement. And I mean, we've been partners with Munich Re, the largest reinsurer in the world, for some time now, for 1.5 years now, and I've recently partnered up with Hasenkamp, one of the most established fine arts logistics companies in the world, and they're very pro digitization. They're very interested in this kinds of technology because, as you said, it creates a way to very easily, very transparently track exactly what's happening with the art piece. Where is it? Who's currently in possession? Who's responsible? If a damage has occurred, has been identified, who's responsible, on that insurance case, for example. So those partners, those industries are very much pro these kinds of technologies, especially blockchain, because it can simplify and automate many of these processes, that track and trace, being transparent, being valid, being decentralized, provides a number of key advantages, and they're very interested to participate and have been, wonderful partners, very active in trying to create a system, create a digital infrastructure to make that possible. And I mean, the question of a digital custodian or a legal entity, I mean, blockchain as well enables, very simple decentralized voting systems. So you have, an art piece being shared by 100 people. They can vote on what to do, on to send it to an exhibition or not, and everything can be done automatically. Every partner is informed automatically. There's complete track and trace of what's happening, and that's really, that sounds very future, but that's very, very close and coming to us within a very short amount of time.
And this brings us to the question that is the most popular among the audience: how blockchain can tackle the problem of forgery. In my personal opinion, you still have to depend on the human factor in the beginning of the evaluation of any object of art, where expertise is key to make this process work from the beginning. Do you agree with me? And what other aspects of the tackling of the forgery problem are there?
I have to take this. Dino has seen me at many panels talking about it. Blockchain does nothing. I mean, there's nothing magic about blockchain. It doesn't make an artwork authentic, or it doesn't make it more expensive, whatever. All it does, it's a very simple system. It makes information unalterable, and it gives it the timestamp. It's like, don't even overthink it, but do think about how cool is that? Because it doesn't exist. It didn't exist. It's like, for the first time when you're in your car, and it's the first car, how cool is it? It drives, right? These are big inventions, and that's why the big industry, the banking industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the container industry, they have been jumping on it. They jumped on it already. But how cool is that? But there's nothing magic. You still need an app like for art to make sure that it is the actual artwork. You still need an official appraiser. And you can all capture that information. People can cryptographically sign off on it. But there's a whole distribution system that you can do. You can indeed make sure that every token holder is now part of that information in the blockchain, and they can start to vote on things, as Dino just said. But there's, the fear of blockchain is also because people start to attribute these kind of magical forces to the blockchain. No, there's nothing magical about it. It's all about what human beings enter, and that information is now visible, which is important. You can't hide it, and it is. Although you can give it permission-based, it's not that Hasenkamp most certainly doesn't want everybody to know that an artwork of $20 million is being shipped. But you can make sure, Dino and his company can make sure that only the right people can access that information. That's
exactly.
Nothing magic about it.
If I may, Nanne, I agree with you. in parts. I think there's sort of a moment that we're seeing now. Yes, old masters, old established artists. I mean, we have the story of the Mona Lisa being stolen, being brought back. Is it the original? Nobody really knows. Yes.
And into the Mona Lisa to begin with. Anyway, yeah,
exactly. No, but for artworks in the past, yes, absolutely, I'm totally with you. There's one technology, as I always say, a time machine that would solve that problem, but that's a bit more tricky. Blockchain isn't some kind of magical technology, but we're trying to, or we're setting sort of a point at which the artists themselves, they can create the data record specific for that very specific object. I mean, we're talking serial prints, doesn't really matter. And then that question of originality doesn't really go away, because you can be sure that in 50 years' time, you have the clear identification, you have the connection to the valid immutable blockchain record, and that will, bring in a new time. So you're absolutely right. It won't solve those issues of the past, but now we can create a new future. Yeah. And, we're really excited. Artists are really excited to do so. Super simple to do, as all modern technology should be. So that's certainly possible, and blockchain helps to pave that way.
It's the artist himself or herself who creates their own statement in perpetuity, and rather leave it to other people in the future to say that the artwork is actually done by you. I agree. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
Well, in my case, it's actually my company requires the artist to sign off that this is his or her work. So because I'm dealing with living artists in contrast to any deceased artist. So I think in that case, it's in the interest of the artist to actually keep track of the work and keep track of the value of the work. So if you say it's an edition of 2, 3, or 5, that if it's public, that you're not going to go ahead and issue additional editions on the site. Why should you? Because it's public and there's a certain price to it. So, and this is of course it's a community that agrees to one industry standard and one standard of information exchange. So I think I'm with you that we will see how corruptible it will be in the future. But basically, if everyone agrees to a standard, and then you can easily track down who signed something off, and you understand that this is incorrect, you can also, you can get rid of that person in that chain.
Mm-hmm.
Francesca, how do investors tackle this problem of forgery, and which justifications do they need to invest into digital art?
They look for the ARTORY or 4Art Up logo in the provenance. If they see it, they know it's very good artwork, it's forgery. And if the artwork is listed and tokenized on our square, it means it's a good artwork and you must get some shares.
People watching this are thinking we've prepared this all in advance, and we all just basically meet for the first time. Yeah.
If you think about it, it's a joke, but it's also true. There's gonna be new standards. Today, you think an artwork is of value for what reason? Because it's been at an auction, and after you've been actually when the artist has been acquired by an artwork from an artist has been acquired by a museum. Then it's like in the Olympus of the immortals. And this is we're gonna see new standards coming along, and it's not possible to give an answer now on the new standard of art buyers. You're asking what behavior they have. This is a word of people that are looking at it. They are willing to create their digital art shares portfolio, and they will then define what is inside those portfolio, what is value, what is forgery, what is real, what is of taste. So it's again, whatever technology brings power to the people, and we are seeing the same happening with blockchain to the art world. Stay tuned.
We also have a very interesting question that I would like to ask, maybe not to all 4 of you, but if someone is interested to answer. So what impact will have on the art industry the fact that since January 2020, the art market must comply to the Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulation?
Well, it's not a problem for us because we demand of all users within our system who would like to write information to be KYC authorized. We utilize the same service providers like banks. That has been certainly an issue for some, but we feel it's a necessary barrier because you need to rely on that information. You need to be able to, while we are art-centric, you need to be able to ensure that the person's writing and creating these really important track records, this provenance, I mean, we all know it's absolute key to the value, not just culturally, but financially as well to artworks. So we demand it. We feel it's absolutely necessary. It's not difficult to do. It's very easy these days to identify yourself, and it just creates security for a complete ecosystem. So I think it's going to be necessary if you're going to be working online, if you're going to be trading, selling art online, just to be able to build that trust. Because again, today, the art world is based on personal connections, on personal trust. But if you want to create a globally networked market where you can rely on people who are thousands of miles away, you need to have that kind of security. You need to have that kind of authentication.
Yeah, the beauty is that the other way. The beauty is the other way around. If you're interacting as a buyer on a digital platform or buying tokens, you can also make sure that you are becoming a trusted buyer, right? I mean, it's not a one-way affair. You've done something online. You've actually, the whole KYC processes, AML processes have been done, and you can also identify yourself as a trusted buyer. I mean, if I were an art dealer, I would have imposed that already on the market, right? It's incredible that most of the dealers have looked the other way. It will not happen. It will not happen, and all of a sudden, this new regulation is there. And you have to comply. You have to follow those rules. And again, here technology can help you actually.
Thank you very much. So yes, blockchain maybe is not magic, but definitely this magic starts when art and blockchain converge together. Thank you very much for your time, KRISTINA, NANNE, Francesco, Dino. That was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much, our dear audience. And we are looking forward to the release of the report by PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, distributed by Cointelegraph. Thank you very much. Tune on.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.